This show is part of OnePlace, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to today's Roundup. We are diving into a series of intense legal developments and breaking crime reports from across the country. Let's get started with a look at what is coming up.
An Indiana woman allegedly used root beer to kill.
Parents face charges for keeping a child in a kennel.
Lindsay Clancy offers a major stipulation in her trial.
A dispute over macaroni leads to a violent assault.
A father is charged after his son's tragic shooting.
The Luigi Mangione trial dates have been officially moved.
New details emerge in a Maine domestic murder case.
A missing teen is found alive after 32 years.
First, the root beer murder. In Freetown, Indiana, a burglary investigation took a dark turn when a suspect named Stephen White accused Marcia Allen of being a murderer. White claimed that Marcia, with the help of her daughter Ashley Jones, killed her husband Harold Allen by poisoning a root beer float with ethylene glycol. This followed several failed attempts using other exotic poisons. After police began questioning her, Marcia Allen tragically took her own life. However, the legal battle continues for her daughter Ashley Jones, who was charged with the murder. While in jail, investigators discovered that Jones allegedly created a hit list targeting witnesses who had information about the poisoning, including her own former best friend, Stephen White.
The details coming out of the Jackson County Sheriff's Department are truly chilling. Detective Clint Burcham and Lieutenant Adam Nicholson revealed that the mother and daughter had been exchanging text messages for months, plotting various ways to eliminate Harold Allen. The use of antifreeze in a root beer float was apparently their final successful attempt. Now, Ashley Jones faces not only the murder charges, but also the fallout from her alleged attempt to silence witnesses from behind bars. The hit list she reportedly gave to her cellmate shows a desperate attempt to cover up the crime even after her mother's death. This case highlights a disturbing level of premeditation and a complete lack of remorse from the surviving suspect.
Next, a horrific abuse case. In North Carolina, Lacey Douglas Hockett Jr. and Rachele Marie Galasso are facing serious felony charges after investigators discovered 6 children living in what prosecutors call some of the worst conditions they have ever seen. A 13-year-old boy was found locked inside a dog kennel, severely malnourished, and suffering from a life-threatening E. coli infection. The home was so unsanitary that authorities had to wear protective gear just to enter. The psychological damage is evident, as the boy now reportedly rocks back and forth, repeating the phrase, "You're never getting out," which is believed to be what was screamed at him during his confinement. The other children, ranging from ages 1 to 15, also suffered from extreme neglect and physical ailments.
The extent of the neglect is staggering. Beyond the physical abuse, none of the children had received any formal schooling, leaving them unable to read or write. One teenage girl has scoliosis that was neglected for so long it is now beyond surgical intervention, meaning she will suffer from the condition for the rest of her life. Others had dental issues so severe they couldn't eat without pain. Hockett is facing 9 counts of statutory rape, while Galasso faces multiple counts of negligent child abuse. This case has shocked the local community and the legal system alike, as the sheer scale of the suffering inflicted on these 6 children over such a long period of time is difficult to comprehend.
Now to the Clancy trial. Lindsay Clancy, the Massachusetts mother accused of killing her 3 young children, is making a significant move in her legal strategy. Her attorney, Kevin Reddington, has filed a motion stating that Clancy is willing to formally stipulate to her involvement in the deaths of her children. This means she would admit to the physical acts that led to their passing, effectively narrowing the trial's focus solely to her mental state at the time. The defense is pushing for a bifurcated trial, arguing that since the facts of the deaths are no longer in dispute, the only live issue is whether she possessed the criminal responsibility or intent, given her claim of suffering from postpartum psychosis during the tragic events in Duxbury.
Prosecutors are firmly opposing this request to split the trial into 2 phases. They argue there is no legal precedent for such a move, and that the evidence of her planning the crimes is central to the case. They point to her mapping out routes to get her husband out of the house as proof of premeditation. While the defense wants to focus on the voices Clancy claims she heard, the Commonwealth believes the jury needs to see the full picture of her actions. Judge William Sullivan previously denied a similar motion, calling it nearly impossible to separate the evidence. With the trial set for July, this new offer to stipulate to the facts is a bold attempt to keep the most graphic details from overshadowing the insanity defense.
Next, a violent dinner dispute. In Rolla, Missouri, 25-year-old Stephen Wolf is in custody after a dinner dispute turned incredibly violent. According to police reports, Wolf became enraged over a bowl of macaroni and cheese, claiming it belonged solely to him. When a female resident tried to explain she had prepared the meal for everyone, Wolf allegedly pinned her against a wall and attacked her. The most disturbing detail is that he reportedly targeted a fresh tattoo on her neck, which was only 5 days old. Police say he grabbed her throat and ripped the skin away, leaving a 3-inch laceration that caused significant bleeding. The victim was found by officers in a state of shock, unable to move her neck due to the severity of the injury.
The level of aggression over something as simple as a meal is alarming. Wolf is now facing a charge of first-degree assault, causing serious physical injury. When police arrived at the scene, they found the victim covered in blood that had already begun to dry down her chest. In addition to the throat injury, Wolf allegedly scratched the woman's back and smashed her cell phone to prevent her from calling for help. After the attack, he reportedly just sat back down as if nothing had happened. This case serves as a grim reminder of how quickly domestic situations can escalate into life-altering violence. Wolf remains behind bars as the legal process moves forward, while the victim faces a long road to physical and emotional recovery.
Now, a tragic shooting incident. A Nashville father, Stephen Lamont Phillips, is facing a criminal homicide charge following the death of his 6-year-old son, affectionately known as Junebug. Phillips told investigators that he fell asleep in his living room with a loaded pistol in his pocket after playing with the boy. He claims he was jolted awake by the sound of a gunshot and found his son critically injured with a head wound. Despite being rushed to Vanderbilt University Medical Center, the young boy passed away 2 days later. Phillips, who has prior felony convictions for aggravated robbery and gun possession, was initially charged with child neglect and unlawful possession, but the charges were upgraded after the child's death. The gun was found on the floor by responding officers.
The family of the young boy released a heartbreaking statement describing Junebug as a gentle soul who loved dinosaurs, noodles, and his tablet. They want the world to remember him for the joy he brought to everyone around him. Meanwhile, the legal case against Phillips is intensifying. His history of felony convictions makes his possession of a firearm illegal to begin with, adding a layer of criminal negligence to the tragedy. The district attorney's office has declined to comment further as they prepare for the next court appearance. This incident underscores the devastating consequences of improper firearm storage and the presence of weapons in homes with children, especially when handled by individuals who are legally prohibited from owning them in the first place.
Next, the Mangione trial update. The legal proceedings against Luigi Mangione, the man accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, have seen a major scheduling shift. Mangione faces charges in both New York State court for murder and in federal court for stalking. Originally, the New York trial was set for June, but a judge has now pushed it back to September 8th. This move was intentional, as it was the same day the federal trial was supposed to begin. Because the state trial is now taking priority, the federal government has been forced to delay its case significantly. A new scheduling order now places the federal trial in early 2000. This delay gives Mangione's defense team more time to prepare for the high-profile cases that have captured international attention.
State prosecutors argued that they would be prejudiced if the federal trial happened first, citing concerns about double jeopardy. By moving the state murder trial to the front of the line, New York ensures its charges are addressed before the federal stalking case. Mangione, who was captured after a 5-day national manhunt, has pleaded not guilty to all charges, including those in Pennsylvania where he was first apprehended. The evidence against him is substantial, including handwritten notes and the weapon used in the shooting. With the federal trial now pushed to January 2027, the legal saga is set to stretch on for years. This complex web of jurisdictions highlights the challenges of prosecuting a suspect facing serious charges across multiple state and federal levels.
Now, a Maine murder case. In Carabasset Valley, Maine, new details have emerged regarding the death of 23-year-old Michaela Rose DeSantis. Her boyfriend, Austin Doucette, is charged with her murder after she was shot in the chest. While Doucette initially claimed the shooting was a tragic accident during frantic 911 calls, search warrants now suggest a history of domestic abuse. Friends and co-workers at the Sugarloaf Mountain ski resort, where both worked, told police that Doucette frequently berated and belittled DeSantis. One manager revealed that DeSantis had even asked to work only on days when Doucette was off because she was afraid to be home with him. There were also reports of him shoving her and controlling her finances, leaving her with no money after paying his bills.
The contrast between Doucette's hysterical apologies on the 911 tapes and the reported history of abuse is a central focus for investigators. While he cried out, "I can't believe I did this," and "I'm sorry, babe," as she was being treated, the evidence of his prior threats and physical aggression paints a much more sinister picture. Witnesses described him as emotionally and verbally abusive, often sending derogatory messages. DeSantis apparently downplayed the physical incidents to her friends, a common sign in abusive relationships. These new revelations are critical as prosecutors build their case, moving beyond the accidental narrative Doucette presented on the night of the shooting. The community at the ski resort remains in shock as more details of the couple's troubled relationship come to light.
Finally, a cold case solved. A 32-year-old mystery in Arizona has finally been solved with the discovery of Christina Marie Plante. In 1994, Plante was just 13 years old when she seemingly vanished without a trace after walking to a horse stable in Star Valley. For decades, her family and authorities believed she might have been kidnapped, and her name was entered into national missing children databases. However, after a persistent investigator tracked down a woman with a similar profile, Plante confirmed her identity over the phone. Now an adult living under a different name, she revealed that she intentionally ran away because she was unhappy with her living situation. She told the investigator that her disappearance was part of an old life and that she has since moved on with her own family.
The revelation that she had help from relatives to flee at such a young age adds a complex layer to the story. Captain Jamie Garrett, who found her, expressed shock that a case deemed a potential criminal kidnapping was actually a planned departure. Plante was blunt about her past, stating she doesn't even think about that time anymore. While the Gila County Sheriff's Office has officially closed the case, the news brings a mix of relief and lingering questions for those who searched for her for over 3 decades. It is rare for a missing person case to end this way after so much time, especially with the individual being found alive and well, having built an entirely new life far away from the circumstances she fled as a teenager.
That wraps up our briefing for today. Thank you for joining us for this daily roundup of the stories that matter. Be sure to follow the show for your next update tomorrow.